Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack three topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
Welcome to another episode of Simple Minds. It's a really interesting setup. I'm not used to it. This feels really weird.
Feels like the Last Supper.
It does.
Kind of is.
Justin here, I'm hosting. We have a full house, very full house. I might introduce everyone quickly. We'll go around the table.
We'll be done by the end of the introductions.
That's right.
45 minutes.
And that's 45 minutes. So go to my left.
Are you going to introduce me or do this thing?
No, you can introduce yourself. That's
Michael is here.
present. We have Michael to my left.
Hey.
Travis.
Hey, hey.
We have the Moff the Prof, Jacob Moffat.
Moff the Prof.
Good afternoon.
Marco.
Hello.
Magic Matt.
Hello.
Gagne, the swag.
G'day.
And we have a special guest, Tash. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Greetings. I feel very privileged to be here.
We're very grateful to have you here.
Thank
so
you.
we're looking forward to it. I'm hosting today, Justin, and I have brought the Japanese whiskey that we were expecting a few episodes ago.
The Hibiki.
Yes,
That's right. That shit's sexy, mate.
I haven't tried this, so
I have two bottles of it.
My attempt a month ago was a failure, and this time I'm going to do it right. So I have a Hibiki Suntory whiskey, a Master's Select. Michael is
Still
really
dry Julying it, so I will
disappointed.
sniff it.
Does that count? That's still alcohol going up your nose.
It's true.
That's right. A
Depends
drop
how
might
aggressively
slip
he
onto your
sniffs.
tongue.
No, maybe.
Maybe. So I'm going to pour the drink. While I am pouring, what we might do is, if everyone's okay, is maybe Tash, do you mind giving a quick introductory and a bit of background about yourself? I'm not really sure, to be frank, not sure where we're going to take this episode, but you have an amazing story, and maybe just give a little bit of a background intro, a couple minutes while I pour
sure.
the beverage,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
All right, I hope everyone's got a strong stomach. I think the whiskey will probably help. That's not that bad. So I'm Tash, and so my story, it sort of starts probably about 2 years ago, where I was working as a flight attendant at Qantas, which I'd worked at for about 12 years, both domestically and internationally, which I love, but I kind of felt that strong inclination that it was time for me to leave and spread my wings and get out. And so redundancy was offered, and I did that. And my partner and I had a dream of starting a family. We'd met a little bit later in life, and we wanted to move down south. And I'm a bit of a hippie child at heart, I must say. So we wanted to grow our own veggies, get some chickens, get a dog, and start a family and do all of that sort of stuff. And so we left, and I had this great plan of what we were going to do. And I'm also a Kundalini meditation and yoga teacher, so I wanted to start teaching down there and really getting involved in that scene, because that was kind of more in line with what I wanted to do. But then, as we were trying to get pregnant and going through that whole, it's a bit of a heavy topic actually, why we all have this whiskey. So as we were trying to get pregnant, when I was going down the whole IVF cycle, I got, they found out I had lesions in my lung and in my brain. So pretty much in a short period of time, I'd found out that I had stage 4 cancer, which is a little bit crazy. And so that's where the story actually begins.
Yeah.
So that's the background story.
Well, that's about 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, that's
16.
it.
6 or
So
7.
I was diagnosed. So it all started last October, and I was diagnosed about 4 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite a story. So we're going to delve into that a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got the whiskey here, so it's probably not something that we would cheers to, but I think it's tradition. So we've got the Hibiki here. Unfortunately, sorry for the two that can't join in. Like I said, cheers.
Let's get it all up.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Round of glasses.
Cheers.
Salute.
Salute.
And you can choose it, right? Because you're not choosing the issue, you're choosing the fight, the battle, which you'll hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is going to be.
Oh, you want me louder now? I'm used to not talking to a mic because you don't like me that loud.
Swaggy Kanye.
It's really interesting being in a space with all these men here, I must say. It's a different
Is
energy.
interesting really the word you wanted to use?
It's the only word I can think of right now.
Interesting is the word. I mean, that's great whiskey. So that was good. Look, I don't think there's much to talk about there. I reckon we delve straight in. Like I said, leading up to it, Conrad, I don't know if there's a particular avenue you would like to go. So you obviously know Tash, and I don't know if you want to give some backstory to that as well, to give us some context. And we've read through kind of the bit of your story, Tash, and we'd love to delve into a bit of the topic that you've brought to the table. But Conrad, do you mind kind of leading with that, and then we can see where we go?
Well, Tash and I have known each other, since high school?
Yeah, long time.
Reconnected as mates probably about 10 years ago. You were just coming out of a marriage.
Yep.
And I was coming out of a situation, and around that time, you guys know where I was going through a lot of shit in my life. I reconnected with Tash on a Sunday session somewhere, and we caught up and had a yarn. And
Was that the Must Wine Bar?
And it was at the Must Wine Bar.
Quality Sunday session.
Yeah, it's when they were big. And if I'm frank with you, and I've told Tash this recently, I didn't know that you didn't know it, but you guys know that I have a fairly sound or reasonable spiritual basis for a lot of my actions, or try to anyway. But Tash and I have spent a lot of time over the last 10 years talking about spirituality, right? And Tash has taken me into some spaces and allowed me to consider things that I hadn't considered before. And so from an early stage, he's probably been really the main person in my life that's allowed me to open up other spheres. I mean, I'm a Catholic, which I've said to you guys before, but I believe in spirituality as a basis, and that's what you've helped me understand. And I guess the role I've probably assumed now with you was reminding you what you've taught me. So let's play with that. Let's go with when you told us, or when you told myself and Josie. Do you remember that? We were at a cafe?
Yeah, I do. And we were at Second Avenue, or Second Deli Cafe or something on, and I was meeting up with them, and I said, "Oh guys, I've just got to tell you, I've got this."
She just walks in.
Stage 4 cancer, and it's really interesting because when I told them, like, I'm just like, okay, this is it, because I've had a little bit of time to process it. And you both, I remember you just were silent. And
but I think it was a few months before that, like when you started the IVF, right? We did catch up at the same cafe those few months before, and you said, "I'm moving down south and I'm going to do IVF."
Yeah.
And I mean, Tash, just so everyone gets some context, we're 46 years of age, right? So it's an interesting stage in life to decide.
I'm actually 45.
Okay.
It's a good age, 45.
It's a good age.
So it's an interesting stage in
It's a good
life.
jersey number too.
It's an interesting stage in life to go down that path, right? And but as long as you were happy, that's what you're doing it for, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when you came into the cafe, you said, we talked about being happy, and you said, all I want to do now is be alive. So.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think at that point it was like our dream to try and have a baby because we had met quite late. And I was just very optimistic about it. It's like, like technology is so amazing now. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that chasing that dream would bring these kind of consequences. But it's a weird twist of fate. It's like you try and have a baby and then you end up with this cancer that's in your body. It's just nuts. And of course no one's heard of this, and it's quite a rare thing.
How rare? What's the numbers?
Well, they said that they see this case in Perth maybe once every 10 to 12 years. So yeah, lucky me, I won the lottery. Not quite, but
so the mental journey, Tash, and I mean, and yours has been interesting. Okay, because your initial reaction was obviously to fight it, and you being a very, I'll use the term loosely, but you're one of my hippie buddies, right? You love similar things to what Travis loves.
Go to your fears.
So, moving down south, you love all nature and stuff. So you were considering alternative treatments, right?
Yeah.
And so take us from that point to the diagnosis to the treatment and what your thoughts were and how you are today with it.
Yeah, sure. So when I was first going through it, I actually got lost in the system a bit because once they saw the lesion on the lung, they actually thought I had lung cancer. So I was lost in the lung department for a while, and I kept going for these scans, and the nurses and the technicians kept saying, have you been exposed to asbestos? Because you don't look like a typical like lung cancer patient. They're normally a bit older, and I just knew it was like, it wasn't that. But anyway, I finally got the diagnosis after lots of biopsies and things. When they told me what the treatment was going to be, which was surgery of removal of part of my lung, and also removal of the tumour in the brain as well, which I had done about 4 weeks ago, and then chemotherapy, my initial reaction, being the hippie child I am, is like, no way, forget it, like I am not doing that. And so I did go down the alternate route for a while, but after doing some investigating and seeing that it was stage 4 and that it was something I couldn't really muck around with. And I did seek some treatment in Thailand actually to have a look, but they weren't that confident, and I didn't actually feel the confidence from them. So, I decided after much deliberation, and actually a talk with Conrad, funnily enough, and it was to do with Steve Jobs. And we had a discussion on how his journey with pancreatic cancer, how he would kind of, initially he decided to go down the more alternate route, which is fine, but looking back he regretted maybe not being more open to the more conventional methods. And Conrad and I did have a very long conversation one afternoon at my mum's, and he said, don't close yourself off to conventional treatment, because just be open. And so, I had a long, and I fought it really hard. Like, I was like, I'm not doing it. And I even said to the doctor, they just thought I was such a pain in the ass. They really did, because I just kept saying, what about this? What about that?
Because what are your percentage chance of survival with the Western medicine treatment?
So with the Western, it's about 85% to 90%. So it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I don't do anything, they gave me a year. So it was pretty like, okay, yeah. So.
But you're that stubborn that you still had to think about it, right?
I did, yeah. I really did, and I resisted it. But finally, I just. And the funny thing is, once I accepted it and thought, okay, I'm going to do the surgeries, I just took it one step at a time. And then once I accepted it, it was so much easier, because I'd kind of just surrendered it. And once I did that, it was like this massive weight was lifted off me. And
What process did you go through internally to accept it? So what did you look at pros and cons? Did you look at it from an ego point of view? Did you what was there anything internally that you kind of had to really strip back and look at yourself and go, why am I not think about Western medicine first of all, or why do I want to do it this way?
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where I really knew that I needed to spend time by myself. But it was a time when everyone was trying to give me their opinion. And that's what the hard thing was. And I think anyone that comes with a diagnosis like that, I would highly recommend is that they get their own space. And even though everyone has their opinion to give you, you really need to sit with that in yourself and come to that decision on your own, because you're the one that has to do the treatment. You're the one that has to go through it all. But ultimately, your family are there, so of course they love you and they only want the best for you. But for me, because I'd always come from, juicing and detoxing, and this was my life. Like, I loved it. Meditation, and so that's how I wanted to go. But I still use those therapies even now while I'm doing all of this, and it really does help. But it's made me realise I don't need to close anything else off. Like, you can be open to everything. But what made me come to that decision is I actually had to surrender it. I had to actually say, look, I'm going to hand this over to you, like whatever you wanted to call it, God, angels, nature, whatever, and I'm going to give it to you and you deal with it. And I had to kind of sit there and listen, okay, what's the right thing to do? What do I feel it is in my heart? And I knew that was it for me for surgery. I just knew. I was just like, okay, this is the next step. It was kind of like I just heard this voice, and I didn't like the voice that I heard because I didn't want to do it. But
And just for the record, I didn't have an opinion.
But she looked at you when she said,
We discussed the people's opinions.
You had many opinions.
We did,
How many of those
discuss
people were you?
And just in short, the conversation with Tash and I was around that. You know, if IVF was good enough to have a child with, and that's Western medicine, right? Then Western medicine's good enough to save your fucking life.
That's really
That's what we said, right?
absolutely, yeah.
I just think there was a fear in there because of what happened with the IVF. Was the IVF the first part that actually created the
Yeah, well, actually, we never actually got to complete an IVF because every time we went to start, I got pregnant naturally, funnily enough. But there was all hormone tablets and stuff I was taking, so that probably all played a part.
Yeah, so do you think that because you were using traditional medicine to start the
Yes,
IVF, that you were
yes.
maybe like, you've given your chance to that, I'm gonna try this a different way?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so glad that I actually did the surgeries. I know it sounds crazy, but I had a 5.5, 6 centimetre lesion in my lung that was growing really quickly. That's gone now. And I actually, I feel pretty good. And with the brain, they took out 2.5 centimetres. And they said to me that I could have paralysis on the right side of my body. And I'm doing really well. The only thing is when I first came out, my texting was really bad.
Oh, they were hilarious.
It was like I was
hieroglyphics.
I was texting in German. It was really bizarre.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was like German.
Crazy. I'll show you
Making
something.
sense in German? Or
I don't know where the German came from.
yeah.
It was hilarious. I'll show you some guys later.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I had the German texting and what else did I have? Oh, I'd trip over every now and again, but now I'm doing pretty well.
Tash, can we talk about how this has gotten you back to where you wanted to get to with your spirituality, and can we talk about the time you spent training as a Kundalini yoga instructor?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the reason why I'd left Qantas to begin with is I wanted to sort of be more in, or I guess, live more in integrity and in line with myself, and I felt there was this real strong calling to go and teach yoga and meditation. And so when I left, that was the plan. And then, of course, once I got down near Margaret River, I got a job at a winery down there, which was great. But it wasn't anything to do with that, But I was kind of doing what I was always doing. And if it wasn't for this cancer that had come along, it's really kind of made it clear to me what I need to be doing, because it's that kind of getting back into I've had to get back into the present moment. I've had to face my mortality, what I want, what's important, what do I need to let go of.
How much have you thought about your legacy and your impact?
Oh, a lot. Like now, I think I feel a need to spread the message now. I'm actually doing on Facebook, I'm doing videos now of my journey that I'm sharing. I would never have done that in the past. I would have just gone, there's no way I'm doing that. But now I don't really care about what people think, as long as those people that need to hear that message receive that message. That's all that really matters to me.
And what's been the feedback?
Feedback's been phenomenal, yeah. It's been great.
What's the message?
The message is, for those people that aren't too squeamish.
Please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you look at Trav for a reason?
I am very squeamish with that sort of stuff.
So I just sort of share a little bit about what my week's been like and what's been going on. But then with that, there's always some sort of underlying spiritual message or something that's coming through that I like to share. And so that's the message. And it's something that I'm going through personally, but obviously other people are going through the same things, not with cancer, but whatever they're going through. Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of it's about you're being present and reflecting in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And not allowing yourself to get too distracted by all of the other bullshits going along the way, be it your family members that are touching base with you and everything else.
Yeah.
Tash has been, one of the conversations we had just after you had your brain surgery was kind of funny. I think if anyone was sitting on any of the tables around us would have thought we were from Mars, right? I think we were talking about I won't go into it, but it was really strange conversations. But one of the biggest pieces, and I think I mentioned it to you guys, Natasha said to me, I've got so much energy. And I said, no fucking shit, mate. I said, because you're focused on living, not diffusing it to every other facet of the world. And then you started seeing people show up differently in your life, doing different things. And I won't go into names, but their actions were very, very real as to the context of where your focus is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you saw the triviality in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think when you get when you get a diagnosis like that, there's this like a no bullshit factor, and I think as you get older anyway, that sort of gets a little bit higher. But once you've got that diagnosis, you see through things and of course you appreciate life and you look at life so very differently, and it becomes so much more precious. You're not willing to waste energy where it's just, you don't want to waste the energy. It's not worth it. And like you said about a legacy, you've only got a certain amount of time to spread that. And so what are you waiting for, Yeah, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And that conversation was funny because I remember me saying to you, you know what? No one ever says, I've got cancer and I'm happy.
They don't. They don't. Everyone's morbid.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. It sounds weird, but...
Pretty crazy, right? I mean, I had to put it in front of you guys for that reason. We talk legacy, we talk impact, we talk about stoicism, which we're about to get into, but all of the things that we talk about, this chick here is using.
Without digging into people, like what is something clearly you've had to focus on just you, but what is something that you've sort of said that you could share that, look, I've just cut that out of my life and realised I was just wasting time and energy on that?
Yeah, time and energy, okay. All right, so for me, it's definitely news, what I'm listening to, music, the type of music I'm listening to, the conversations that I'm having with friends. But yeah, just being mindful of what you are immersing yourself in, especially when it comes to news and media. That's all going into your vibration, and especially if you're watching it before you go to bed at night and in the morning, and it's not setting up for a positive day, is it?
Not watching Law and Order.
Yeah,
there's a few things there. I mean, some big ones. So maybe kind of quiz you on music then. So what have you taken out of your music, I guess, vocabulary, or what are you listening to, and what impact have you found that to have?
Well, I mean, Conrad used to love music and stuff, but it's kind of like listening to stuff that's a little bit more, like it's more in line with your mood, but just, stuff that's not going to drag you down too much. And I used to love like kind of rocky, heavy stuff, but now some of the lyrics, it's so depressing, right? So it's just being mindful of that, especially when you're kind of going through something like this. It's
because you're harnessing your energy and you're trying to focus.
Yeah.
So what? Obviously, the mindset approach that you have is, like you said, Conrad, a lot of the stuff we talk about, but that doesn't come naturally. So, and you've touched on in the kind of email that we got is the 5 sutras of Aquarian age, which is something which would be really cool to talk through.
Yeah.
But what has set you up? You don't, not like as you said, not everyone turns around and go, I got cancer and I'm happy. Like, how have you developed that mindset? That when you were struck with this, that you kind of had those tools. You sat with yourself, but not everyone is capable to sit with themselves and then flip it and be like, you know what? Actually, this is amazing. Not everyone, I guess, built that way. What are some of the things, or how did you get to that stage?
Yeah.
That perspective? Yeah,
it's a really good question. Really good. Oh, I don't know. No, I've got to elaborate a bit more there. Well, I guess I've been on the spiritual journey for a while now. So I've had a few interesting life experiences happen, like everyone. Like divorces, having to move overseas, marriage breakdowns, relationship issues, family dramas. All that kind of stuff that always kind of throw you in and build your resilience. But I think the big thing for me is I've always loved visiting sacred sites around the world, and I went and did the Kundalini yoga training. That was the big one for me, I guess. Doing that training in New Mexico.
What made you do that in the first place?
Well, at that point, I'd just come back. I was living in London, and I'd just come back from there. I was there for 4 years, and when I came back, my friends had all moved on, and I was feeling a little bit lost, and I wasn't fitting into Perth. And I was always interested in yoga because I was always going, and I'd gotten into Kundalini yoga when I was in London, and I went to Mexico the month previous, and I'd seen a brochure or something, and then I ended up going back the next month for the training. Yeah. And that's when it kind of opened my world up even more. That's to more, because it's a yoga, but when people hear yoga here, they think of like Lululemon pants and green juice, kale juice, and everyone looking really cool and these, perfect poses. But yoga is not that. That's just like one aspect, the physical aspect. Yeah. But there's 8 limbs of yoga, so it's a lot more involved than that. Yeah.
With Kundalini yoga, that's the energy, isn't it, from kind of the points of energy throughout the body.
Yeah.
And one of the things you're meant to get from it is that release of energy, or the snake, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the Kundalini rising, or
is that something
snake.
You've experienced?
Yeah. No, I've never experienced that myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was really this Kundalini yoga that kind of started, was the catalyst, kind of that path, and a lot of the learnings and teachings through that.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
So that was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That I did that. And of course, when I went there were people from all over the world that were doing that. So it was immersion from different people from different cultures, and it was like, this is what yoga is. Because I'd been to Sri Lanka and I'd seen the yoga there, and then I'd come back here and I'd do yoga class here, and I'd go, no, this isn't the yoga. And then finally I went there and I was like, this is what I've been looking for, because it is that connection to ourselves. And when you go to places like Sri Lanka, India, that's where you see people having that real connection. That we don't have so much here in the West, but it's getting there. Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I think it's going to have to, because I think things are going to fall apart, and then it probably will. Yeah.
Hey Tash, fast forward 12 months for us, right? Like, we get through the chemo and all the other bullshit around the place. What does it look like for you?
12 months from now.
Yeah.
What will my life look like for now?
Doing what? Where are you going to be? What are you wanting to hope to achieve?
Well, I'm going to be cancer free, so that will be gone and kick its butt. and I'll be well on my spiritual path, so I'll be teaching my yoga, and I'd love to do maybe some spiritual coaching or something like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So kind of looping back then to as well. So do you feel, so is it through the Kundalini yoga? So obviously we read a lot of books and other elements, like coming back to how to develop that mindset or that perspective and that approach. And obviously this is coming back to the message question. This is something you're really passionate about sharing, is kind of the thread that I'm, I guess, getting.
Yeah.
What, in terms of teaching it, is it is really the core message or lesson that you want to try and pass on through yoga? Is that the connection to self?
Yeah, it's definitely the connection to self, because I think at the moment people are just searching for everything outside of themselves, aren't they? It's like chasing after the latest car, house, latest holiday, but you're always searching for outside, and where it's just finding that connection.
I think people are a bit scared to look inside, aren't they? I think.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
Yeah, how do you get there? It's I think people think it's harder than it is, but the thing is, everyone has that inner guide within them. It's a matter of being still and stopping, and it doesn't take as much. It's not as complicated as you think. It is just as simple as stilling that mind, closing your eyes, just sitting still, and just connecting with your breath. just taking, deep breaths in and out. It's connecting with nature. And it's asking for help as well, if you are open for that. And just listening for that inner voice, because we all have that inner voice. It's that we've all got that intuition. But it's just people tend to they don't trust it.
And we're talking about the deeper inner voice, not that chattery one up the top. That's
no, because that
telling
deeper
you
inner
everything.
voice is that it's quiet. Like the ego voice is very loud and very, it's quite bossy and it's mean as
Picture
well.
a sort of I can just see something there that just
Yeah, and the ego voice can be really mean as well. Like it's quite nasty. Yeah.
What are some kind of daily or over the years practices that have helped you kind of listen to the inner voice and make it or enable it to become louder?
Yeah, well, definitely I spend time in nature. Yeah, so being down south, it's easy. But even if you're living here, just going for a walk and just turning off your music, like turning off, getting away from your phones and just going for a walk where it's in Hyde Park or wherever you are. But for me, I get up and I sit down and I sit on my meditation pillow and I've got a certain practice that I do. But it doesn't have to be, a huge thing. You could just sit there for 5 minutes and just breathe, and that's it.
First thing in the morning, yeah.
First thing in the morning, yeah. Rise, pee, meditate. RPM. Yeah, simple, right?
And what does your meditation practice look like? Because I personally don't meditate currently. I don't know a lot about it, so I'm intrigued by what that kind of specifically looks like.
Yeah, so there's different meditations obviously you can do, but my one, I like to choose like a mantra, which is a sound, and the sound it carries you through the meditation. So it's a focus. So the mantra is like a mind focus. So it could be something like I use Soham, for example, or what's another one I use? I can't think right now.
Matthew McConaughey and Wolf of Wall Street.
So the ones you're talking about, the more Sanskrit words.
Sanskrit ones that I've learnt, but it's actually just your mind training and focusing on a certain word, and with that and with the breathing, you slow your body down and you slow your mind down. But your mind's always going to chatter. Like that's just it's not like you're going to have this perfect meditation, although sometimes you might. I rarely do, but in that time you actually it's more like you become the observer. So the more you sit there and tune in and listen, take those breaths and pay attention to your thoughts, it's like you're sitting there and you're watching yourself sitting there and you're watching those thoughts go past like clouds, and with that distance you go, oh, do I really think that? And sometimes you're really surprised what.
Have you noticed those inner thoughts change at all since your diagnosis?
Well, when I was first diagnosed, they were really loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I probably couldn't say some of the things that we're going through on this stage.
Feel free, mate. This has been pretty safe so far.
go for it.
Yeah. But then because I had a few moments where those moments where you're basically on your knees, and I had a few of those moments, and I've got this husky, a 6-month-old husky called Timber, named after Justin Timberlake. And anyway, I remember one time I was in the laundry and I was on my knees, just distraught, right? I was on my own with him, and he came up to me and how animals are, how they're just so gorgeous. And I remember at that time just praying and just sort of saying, like, I give this to you. I don't know what to do with this. You take it, And it gave me peace. Like, it was just like, cool, all right. But there's this sense of knowing in me now, like, I'm going to get through it.
Yeah.
And it's just a knowing, I guess. And that comes from that connection to, I'm trusting that inner guide in myself.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
If no one else is going to continue that thread, I'm curious to know a little bit more around the Course of Miracles that you touched on, and you know, kind of you touched about our fear of our natural state of love, and how is Conrad, I think, has touched a lot of love, and there's been a lot of talk this week around self-love. And I'd love to get kind of your view on, because we know Conrad's view on self-love. I'd love to get your view on self-love, this natural state of love, and I would, maybe it's a bit naive to assume, but you'd have to go through a lot of self-love in this exercise, I would take, but I'm not going to share that. I'd love you to share that a little bit, and what this Course of Miracle is, and the power of love through such a tough, I guess, situation, depending on the perspective.
Yeah. Well, A Course in Miracles, have any of you guys heard of The Course in Miracles?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Well, A Course in Miracles was probably, it's a metaphysical text. So it's basically, it was a work that was channeled, but Marianne Williamson brought it to life. She brought out a book called A Return to Love, where it became quite popular and a bit more well known, but it's a text that you can work through and a set of exercises that you can work to. But the premise is that we all come into this world full of love. Like if you look at a newborn baby, you know, there's just love there. They're just like, they've got this presence about them. But it's as we're living this life here, the fear and that society and that kind of competition that's around us that gets us into that, we get away, and it's like we get split. I mean, the ego is definitely there, that's that fear side, but it's that when we can get back into that presence of you know, sitting in that stillness, we're returning back to that that state of who we really are, which is love, basically. So it's always like if something happens, you've always got a choice. You can choose to go with the fear, or you can just choose love instead. How radical is that?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I was talking about it today. I journaled last night on an Einstein quote, Tashi, which I'm not sure whether you've seen it yet. The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe.
Yeah.
And that then dictates your course of action. You know, are things happening to you or for you? And part of that allows you to think, you know, do miracles happen or not? No, I believe in miracles. I've seen them happen. I've seen them happen. I've seen a person who was told they couldn't be pregnant, not you. But I've seen. Well,
I got pregnant. That wasn't the problem.
Yeah, I was a person who I told couldn't get pregnant, become pregnant, and all I said to her was take a break and believe in miracles.
Are you suggesting you were responsible for that?
No, I wasn't responsible. I'm just saying I've seen miracles happen. All right, and miracles to me exist. But miracles to me is where people believe things are impossible.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually the question I wanted to raise off the back of that is, once you had sort of got into a position of more peace around the situation, I'm going to probably guess or assume that a lot of other people around you didn't or couldn't necessarily get into that frame very quickly. How did you maintain the mindset and the headspace that you got yourself into to obviously move forward and focus with, I'm going to guess, a bit of chatter and noise and potentially people who are very well-meaning, but I'm assuming friends and family, through their love for you, really struggled with hearing, understanding and dealing with the diagnosis.
But before you answer that, Tash, just understand the other side of love is fear, right? So that's the polar opposite. So I guess knowing that, how can you address that question? Because I'm going to go with where your family were coming from.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when I first heard there was fear, of course there's fear. But then I knew that I had a choice, right? Because, Course in Miracles says that our natural state is love, and miracles are actually natural as well. It's just our blocks to it that it's our fear that blocks it. And it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to live it. So it's, But it's... So for me, with the family, there was a lot of fear. And of course, people will dump their grief on you sometimes, especially when you open up and say, okay, this is my story, this is what's happened. But I had to, recognise it for what it was. So when they were saying that, I would just, in a lot of my head, I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, yeah, I know what's going on. It's okay, it's cool. You're fine, Tash. You're going to be fine. And I would just talk to myself on the inside. But I knew where it was coming. They were coming from that fear state.
Yeah, it's from a good place. Well,
It's from
what they perceive to be a good place. And
of course.
They can't. I mean, you've put that work into understanding it.
And I'm not saying I don't have fear. I do have fear. But it's kind of saying, okay, well, the fear's here, but now I'm not going to let that overcome me. So I see you, fear. I see you.
So it's empathizing from that space to then enable you to, kind of not allow you to attach on.
Yeah, and they family and friends. They just want the best for you, and they want to help you. So it's not coming from a space of meanness. It's they're doing the best they can, like I am as well. And that, what more can you ask than that? So, but it is an interesting journey, and for the people around as well. And I think often for the people that are going through it with you, sometimes it's harder for them than it is for you, or it's different because they feel a little bit like they've got no control.
It's happening to them, not for them, right?
Yeah, that's it. Well, I really do believe this has happened for me, which instead of to me, I really do believe that. Yeah.
With nature, you obviously had a connection with nature already and have done for a long time.
Yeah.
How has that changed? Have you got an even deeper connection with everything?
Yeah, I do. We've got a forest that we walk to, that I take the dog to every day. It's this gorgeous forest, and walk down there. And I know this is going to sound a bit strange for you guys, but maybe, I don't know. So what I do is every time I go for a walk is I put my hands on the tree, because our hands are an extension of our heart. So it's an extension from our heart chakra. So I put the hands on the tree and I give my fear to the tree. And I don't give it to the tree in the sense of
Die tree.
Polluting the tree. Like, I don't want to do that.
But they're connected at the earth level, right?
Yeah, because I also say, and can you take this energy and transmute it and recycle it back into the earth? What's that, sorry?
It's the transfer of energy. You're using it as a transfer of energy to transfer negative energy out of yourself into something that's pure.
Exactly. And just nature.
So you hippie talk. Hippie to hippie.
See,
I'll speak your language.
I love
I
it.
speak your language. Leaf. They speak leaf.
Yeah. But it makes a difference after I go for a walk. It's just unbelievable.
Oh, man, yeah.
Does your walks through the forest, has that changed from, say, walking through there now to 2 years ago? What's your experience other than that? Because I'm kind of probably angling towards gratitude more here on this. Has that changed your outlook on just a simple walk in your life now?
Yeah. I noticed like the clouds, like yesterday I was standing outside and the clouds were moving really fast. And I was like, holy crap, those clouds are moving fast. And I'm just noticing moments in between all the time, like animals, clouds. Like tonight is the full moon eclipse.
It's pretty powerful night, right?
So I'm pretty excited about that tonight, seeing that. And and watching the stars.
Yeah.
And just like, I think when you are faced with like something like a diagnosis like that, you look at the stars, you look at that blank sky, and you just like totally like, wow.
Puts it pretty much into perspective, doesn't it? On I don't know, me personally, like I practice gratitude every day by walking down the street and allowing the wind to go on my face, and the leaf I crunch on my foot, noticing those little things. And
do you say sorry to the leaf when you do it?
But I could imagine going through something, what you're going through currently. It puts it in perspective, and you certainly notice all those little things and become grateful for a hell of a lot more than you probably dismissed prior to, I guess the moment that's kind of carried you through to where you are now. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I always had a gratitude journal and stuff, but now I look at my gratitude journal that I used to write, and it was the same sort of crap, not crap, I shouldn't say crap, same sort of stuff that I was writing. But now when I write, it's more, interestingly enough, it's just more relationships. Okay. It's more family, more friends, more of that. I still appreciate the little things like a nice cup of coffee in bed and stuff like that, and certainly be grateful for that. But it's it's those connections with people. Because even now I find, like, how often do we meet people and look people in the eye? You know,
Eyes go down straight away. Yes.
You know,
It's
to have
weird.
that heart connection. You know,
Isn't it fun? The humans just do that though. It's like, and I still do. I'm still very aware of it as well at a shop or whatever, like the teller, whoever's there, and you catch the eye, and it's like, why am I doing that? Why can't I keep that connection? What do you think it is? What, like, I think people are scared of it, or
I feel, you know, it's Yogi Bhajan, he's the one that brought Kundalini to the West. He said that we needed Kundalini at this time because we're in such of an information age where technology has taken over, and we've lost our inner technology. You know, we've got the internet, but what about our internet? You know,
like that?
Yeah. So it's that, you know, we're so global and so connected, but we can't even look at each other in the eye. So we've lost that, and until we get that back, it's like interesting times. But people are more open, I think.
It's a really good exercise to do, is to try and hold that stare or that connection as long as you can. It's really hard, but it's something really interesting every day to try and do with people.
That's it. Because even as I'm like looking at you now, Michael, like it's so nice, right? You're acknowledging another person, and it's like, I see the divine in you, and
It's good.
Pretty cool energy in this room, though, right? Did anyone notice that? Even though there's more people here, it actually doesn't feel like a lot of
energy
people.
is so different to normal.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Could be that Japanese whiskey that I've not had.
It's not bad. Well, that was very nice.
Well, I mean, I guess I wanted Tash to come on for two reasons. Tash has got a massive desire to obviously speak and be heard, and to impact. And I think through what we're doing here, we're giving her the opportunity to do that to even our listeners, whoever they are in India. But more importantly, I really wanted to share her energy with you guys, right? Because she's pretty infectious. I mean, no matter what you've gone through, and I've known you for a long time, I've always had some great times with Natasha, and we've done some wacky fucking things. And no drugs. I've never taken any drugs, so none of that stuff. It was just really, really strange conversations and great conversations and challenging conversations. So yeah, I wanted to share this person with you guys and her story. So knock yourselves out, ask any more questions. If not, we can.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got two approaches we can go, which I will put to the group. There's a part I'm still curious to run through the 5 sutras.
Yeah, sure.
There was also a piece that was put forward around stoicism from Mike, which really interlinks to a lot of this stuff as well. So depending which way we can go, really 2 ways. We can allow Tash to go 5 sutras, or we can see how stoicism can wrap up into all of this. I'm getting.
I think let's go to sutras, and then Mike can tie that back in. I'm sure you're good enough to do that at the end.
I think we'll just do the sutras.
Thanks.
Thanks,
We'll push Mike to the next episode.
Yeah, it's the next episode.
Positive, negative.
It wasn't negative. I just wanted to give you more time.
No, thank you. No, because I do have this. Because I wanted to, with the stoicism stuff, I wanted to be quite practical with it, because we've touched on it in a lot of episodes on a sort of more heady basis, but I thought wanted to go a bit more practical. So it may, some of it, what I was thinking about talking about, might not be a good suit for today.
Okay.
But there could be some stuff in there that we can finish off with, or at least tie in quickly. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's go, JB.
Let's Tash, take us through the 5 sutras.
Okay, cool. So Yogi Bhajan brought these over. So the 5 sutras, sutra is like a really complex spiritual message that's condensed into one line. And sutra is like a knot or a cloth, so that's where it comes from. But the reason, I found this out the other day, the reason they had sutras was because they were sacred teachings at the time. They didn't want this information getting into the wrong hands, so they'd put it into like something really short that if you read it, you'd go, well, yeah, that's really simple, that means nothing. But once you've got it, you could expand on it. That was the whole reason behind it. So he said that there were 5 sutras that we needed to apply for the age of Aquarius, which is what we're in now. We left the Piscean age in the 1990s, which was all about competition, and now we're going more into the information and global age. So he says that these are the 5 things that will get us through, which is really interesting. And I'll talk to a couple, but yeah, jump in and I feel like I'm talking too much here. But the first one is just amazing. It's like recognize the other person is you, and that's really deep, right? It's like, if you could just get that one concept, like, there'd be world peace. Like, it's, but how do you do it? Like, it's like, and if you like the other person, it's easy, but when it's someone you don't like, it's not so easy to recognise that it's you. But it's like do unto others as you would have someone do unto you.
And that's why again we circle back to self-love, right? Because that's what that connection needs to come from. Because we are always projecting self.
Yeah, and also there's that thing of we're always seeing ourselves as like, like I'm Australian and you're Indian and you're Italian and you're a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I've got cancer, you're a mother, you're a bachelor, whatever it is.
I'm not Indian, I'm not an Indian bachelor.
But it's like we put all these shields up, because then we're different, then we don't have to be similar. Yeah, and then when you strip it all, we're all pretty much the same. Yeah. So that's what that one's about. And if you recognise the other person was you, you'd be much more conscious with what you said with your words and your actions, if you thought it was yourself you were talking to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not. Or not. Yeah.
What about if you're harsh on yourself and
That's what I'm
If you're what, sorry?
harsh on yourself?
Yeah.
Which I guess is the self-love piece.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, we've had a couple of conversations where we're probably kinder to others than we are of ourselves.
Yeah.
How does that wrap up into that, do you think, from your view and your opinion?
Yeah. We're always harsher on ourselves, for sure. And it's that self-love. It's like, if you want to heal the world, you got to heal yourself first. So it's always coming back to yourself, because that's where it all begins.
Do you think it's almost then with yourself, you actually got to flip it and actually talk to yourself as if you were talking to a close friend?
Yeah.
So it's actually almost an inverse of that as well, if you're speaking to yourself?
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Louise Hay?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, Louise Hay was this amazing woman. She started Hay House, publishing and Hay House Radio. And she started it like in her 60s or something like that. But she always had a really big self-love practice where it's every time you walk past a mirror, look at yourself in the eyes and say that you love yourself, which, it's pretty out there. But if you can do it and you can look at yourself in the eye, it's a pretty amazing experience if you can do it. Yeah, pretty hardcore.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the next one?
So, the next one is there is a way through every block. And
through the middle.
Sorry, what's that?
yeah, the next one is there is a way through every block.
Or a potato.
Yeah.
Or a brick wall.
The way.
Remember that brick wall thing we were talking
There's a
about?
way through every block.
Yeah. So that one there is basically talking about, the blocks that we've got. There is, through every obstacle, there is a way through, but normally it's we block ourselves, generally, is the block. Yeah, so remove that. Yeah.
That's where my mind goes to first. Like, we create so many obstacles and excuses for not achieving or not doing things day to day. That's where sort of my mind goes directly with that.
And that ties in with some of the Stoic stuff we're going to talk about. Using the obstacle as the way, actually. So you actually acknowledge the obstacle, and then you can use that to empower yourself straight through it or around it, or whichever way.
Yeah.
Or just jump over it.
Or
jump over it,
parkour over it.
Walk around it. And then number 3 is when the time is on start and the pressure will be off.
I didn't understand this one, so I'd love to hear about what that meant.
It's like, if you've got like exams to study for, you got your tax to do, and it's like something you're putting off. It's like it's always in your head and you're always thinking about it, and it's taking up so much mental energy.
Yeah.
But if you just made that phone call, if you just sat down and spent 5 minutes on it, the pressure's off. The whole thing is, it's like it's in the mind. It's like, for me, for example, my whole life I've had this like perfectionist streak where it's got to be perfect before I start. You know, I don't know if any of you guys have this.
For all of us, basically.
Not me, like.
Slight burn, I guess.
But not Kanye.
Not me.
Yeah, so it's like
It is perfection.
It's like it's got to be perfect, and the thing is, it's never going to be perfect.
Never will. Perfection
will.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Conrad doesn't exist.
That one's powerful. Like I know you've got all these tasks, and you just got to pick up that call, and you put it off, and you put it off, and you finally do it, and you're like, what was that all for?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah, and so much effort goes in time, and it's just a waste of energy, isn't it? We just do it.
Does that work for you now, Marco?
That's what I thought it was. And to be honest, I was like, maybe I'm looking at that too shallow.
Too shallow, yeah. But it's a
It
big
is
one,
that
right?
simple.
We all
It is that simple,
procrastinate.
yeah.
And
Procrastination is a disease, man.
procrastination.
It's a global disease.
Absolutely, especially with technology and phones and.
Well, I don't know whether it's technology, but I just think because it's existed forever, Tash.
Yeah.
It's existed forever. There's been a lot of people that just fucking procrastinate.
Technology amplifies it, but
Can.
hasn't caused it.
No,
Yeah, because it's another distraction.
sure.
Yeah.
Happening for you, not to you.
Is that a sample button that we just keep getting used
I
to?
think we should. I think we
Are
should.
you actually here?
Release a little Simple Mind keychain.
Hey, great idea. I'll
press
write a
it.
product.
It's happening for you.
I reckon that's
Love
a-
yourself.
Well, what about those yes and no buttons?
Love yourself.
Those stupid yes and no
And it's
buttons.
like a fart just in there.
Okay, next one.
I love that one. The next one is understand through compassion or you'll misunderstand the times. And that one there is talking about, I think in the last century we've been so much in our heads and it's all about the intellect and the mind and what the intellect and the mind can do, and we've forgotten, and the science, but we've actually forgotten about our other technologies, which is our heart. And so it's compassion. It's coming from looking through experience and with the heart with things instead of with the intellect. The intellect is just one aspect of the mind.
What do you mean by looking through experience? As in look into the other person's experience, or you're drawing on your own?
Yeah, it's both. Yeah, using being present. I think that when I'm talking about experience, it's being in that present moment. How many times do people go into situations where they've already worked out what they're going to say in their head and they're not even listening to what the other person is saying?
A lot.
They're not
Funny you
present.
say that.
And that's the way it's been for a long time. I think everyone's in that mind, that competition, where if you come in that present moment, there's no agendas. You're coming in, you're meeting someone in that present moment from that heart space, and then who knows what can arise from there. But then you can, let's be compassionate and see, okay, well, this person may be acting in a way that is annoying me, but they're doing the best they can. And I'm doing the same.
Yeah. Being empathetic, using empathy.
Yeah. And then the last one is vibrate. It's a bit of a strange one, but vibrate the cosmos. The cosmos shall clear the path. That one is like, when I was talking about how I said I surrendered the situation, I was like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I'm going to give it to a higher power, and the higher power can deal with it. That one's kind of like, instead of chasing after things, you kind of run around and you're in a loop. But if you just kind of stop and get out of your way, things flow. That's what that's about. Yeah.
And that one there is powerful.
Oh, it's huge.
We get in the way too often.
Well, it's the blockage thing, right? It's the same thing. And if you realise you can,
Well, we think we know
we
better.
often don't need to do anything. I think we often lean on the fact that we have to do something to make something happen, whatever that is. And often, if we just don't just sit still for a minute, it disappears. Like the issue disappears, the action disappears. It gets caught somewhere else in the
All the
universe.
thing you have to do is really simple. Like take action.
Yeah,
Okay.
take it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember, this reminds me of when I was in Espanola in New Mexico. I remember watching this video of Yogi Bhajan, and he's saying, "Be the flower," and I'm like, "What's he talking about?" Be the flower, but it's like, you know, the flower is just the flower, and the bees will come to it, right? And I remember them teaching us. There was like a experiment or a process where we had to, instead of looking at something, let that whatever it is come to you. So instead of looking at the flowers, let those plants or the tree come to you, and you should try it. It's really quite freaky, but don't look at it. Let that come to you. It's a weird thing, but when you do it, it's like, wow. You're not trying to go after it. You're letting it come to you.
I just tried it as I was listening to it, and it was almost as if I was trying to feel your presence, not so much. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I just tried it as you were saying it, and it was more of a feeling thing. That's crazy.
It's I guess
That's that presence, that present moment stuff.
Yeah.
It's really about that letting go, wraps back into that love and coming from love and all that type of thing, and you put it out there. And I think even when you're going, Matt, it can go either way, but it's like, the blockages and just, kind of, and through my short existence, I believe this and have experienced this in the last couple of years, become more spiritual, I guess, in some regards, not fully, but as you said, it's ongoing practice. But I've definitely experienced this, where you just kind of put it out there, kind of trust, and it's amazing what happens. But it's a practice. It's ongoing.
But be responsible for the vibration you put back into the cosmos.
It's a little bit of almost that saying of be careful what you wish for. Too, I guess, because it probably can go a negative.
Yeah, sure.
I would say this can also go negative and positive.
Depending upon the vibration you're putting into the world, right?
Yeah, which is vibrate with the cosmos.
Yeah.
The cosmos shall clear the path. And I guess that's
the flip side will also be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a muscle, it's like it needs practice. And I think the more you connect with yourself and sit in those moments with yourself, and that voice, you learn to trust it more. Yeah. And instead of going, oh, what are you talking about? What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Cool shit.
The ego has reigned for way too long.
Not in this room, it hasn't.
Fuck off.
There's a bit of ego in this room.
No, but we need an ego, don't we?
It's knowing when you use the ego, right? It's not letting the ego use you.
I mean, I think the ego's actually, created
dark
humans as they are now. I mean, humans wouldn't be where they are now.
No. We need an ego. We're one, but we're separate, so we need an ego for our identity.
It's the yin yang sort of stuff, isn't it? It's the black and the white, Conrad.
Disproportionately.
Hey, Tashi, I'm not sure what time we've got. Whoever's on the clock.
Negative minutes.
Okay.
Nah, man, I'm enjoying this. We should have been an arbitrary time we've set that we have.
I'm really cool if there's anything that you haven't touched on that we've brought up that you want to throw out there.
Yeah.
Anything you want to, for anybody here or anybody out there listening, a couple of the Indians that subscribe to our Facebook page. But yeah, if you've got something you want to share that you've been keeping, you got any gold up your sleeve?
There's this one thing, I just wanted to share something from A Course in Miracles. It's a prayer that I use every day. Now, when I say prayer, people hear the word prayer and they associate it with, religion. And I'm not talking about religion because I'm talking about something that's spiritual. Spiritual it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. So when I say prayer, it is just asking. It's just asking for something, and it's asking something higher than yourself. So one of the prayers from A Course in Miracles I absolutely love, and it's, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And I say that every morning. And just saying those things and asking that question to yourself, you'll be surprised what starts coming up in the day.
It's that servant mindset straight away. We live to serve. You guys have just come back from overseas, the 5149. It's that. And when I read that, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Is that trying to connect to that deeper self, that thing that we don't connect with enough?
Yeah.
Sort of talking straight to that, or the universe, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The one.
Because I really do believe
Your highest conscious, right?
we all come in with a purpose. We've all got our own unique talents.
Ask Mike what his why is. Ask him.
What's that?
Ask Mike what his purpose is.
Everything. Conrad.
Everything. What's your purpose, Mike?
On the next episode of
Where would you go?
Where would I go? I'm going to ask myself that tomorrow.
That's a great little one.
Yeah, but to do it every day, in that way it's fresh. It's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do today? But it's not your ego talking. It's like it's you're handing it over and then listening for that guidance. Yeah.
Do you write this down, or is this just more of a self-talk, or is this a journaling piece?
For this one, this is just. Sometimes I might journal it if something comes up, but generally it's just a conversation with myself, and then I'll go, okay, I need to. Well, say for example, I'm out and I'll see someone. I might spend that extra time to maybe talk to them, and connect, because I'll feel like there's something that needs to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because you don't realise how powerful you are, especially with your words. Like the things you say, I've had people say things to me like, I remember when you told me this like years ago, and I'm like, I have no idea what I said. Like, and you've got your impact is just massive. Words are pretty powerful.
And you're seeing that a lot now, right? Of those videos that you're putting out, the content you're putting out at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that's not even related to cancer. It's people that, some, like, for example, I had someone's daughter that was really touched by it, and and she was really affected because she didn't like her hair, and she was like, I'm not going to complain about my hair again, Mum. Because she heard I was going to lose mine, so it's those things.
how does gratitude play into? I mean, we've probably gone there a little bit, and there's two parts. I think where Jacob went for a question. What does your morning routine look like? And then how does kind of gratitude play into all that? I mean, it's probably a stupid question because it's clearly immense. And to enable someone to feel that way is clearly enabling them to feel gratitude too. But so maybe it's more of, do you have a routine you do every morning? Is it the same or
No, it's not the same. It's not the same. No, it changes. I do the that where would you have me go? What would you have me do? I do say that to myself every morning. I do the rise, pee, meditate. So I do the meditate, sit on my meditation pillow. But again, it's not like I've got a set time I do it. It's like some days I do it in the morning. Sometimes it might be a little bit later. I might get a little bit distracted. Another thing I love to use, and I don't know if you guys, I think you, Conrad, probably are, is tarot cards or, angel cards.
Did you bring any with you?
No, I didn't today. Yeah, I should have. But I use those every morning as well. And that's a guidance for me because the tarot, you're all familiar with tarot? Yeah.
No.
No?
I mean, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Okay. Okay, so a tarot deck is a deck of cards basically with all different, there's... I can't even remember how. I think there's 76 in them, but there's different ones. There's angel ones as well, and all sorts of stuff. But it basically works as when you're shuffling them, your vibration, your energy is going into those cards, and then you pull a card, and there's a message for you in that card. Yeah. So it works. It's like a lexicon. There's like the vocab, and it's a whole. By looking at the card, you can see the imagery, gives you ideas, and you kind of get answers from it. And I kind of use those too. But again, that might be a little bit woo-woo for some people, but I love it. So I use that as well, and as a gratitude journal.
Any evening routine or?
Evening routine. Just don't watch the news before bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And generally, actually, two things I do in the morning and when I go to bed is I put my hand on my heart, and and I just take some deep breaths, and I make sure I put my hand on my heart and breathe before I reach for my mobile phone. Because how often do we reach for our outer technology before we actually disconnect with ourselves? It's quite crazy.
That's really cool. Can I ask a question about perspective? What would you tell yourself? Because what I gather is that through your journey that you've gone through, you got a massive dose of, when you were talking about what you now consider to be important and what you actually want to allocate time to versus what you used to do.
Yeah.
How would you tell yourself before you went through this experience? What would you tell yourself to get that perspective in order to then appreciate and allocate your energy and focus like you do now? Because you see it as a privilege, or it's happened for you and it's helped you live a better life. Some people, and it's funny to say it this way, but some people may not be so lucky to have an experience that focuses their life like that.
Of course.
So what would you say to yourself, and therefore what could people say that haven't necessarily experienced something like that in order to better appreciate what they have?
Yeah. It's thank you. It's a hard one. I mean, I think before this experience, a lot of self-doubt came in. I already always knew that I wanted to start this yoga meditation thing, but there was that thing of feeling like I wasn't ready. And it's that sutra that he was talking about, like when the time is on, just start and the pressure will be off. And for me, it was always like, I've got to do another course. I mean, Conrad knows this, the amount of places and courses I've gone to in Sri Lanka and all over the world.
I wanted to start the damn business, man. I want to join in.
But it was always feeling like I didn't have enough, I didn't know enough to start. And so I guess if I was talking to myself before the diagnosis, or talking to someone else who maybe is not going, doesn't have the same mindset, is to actually to understand, just to accept where you're at, but to be kind to yourself, and that you're never going to get it all done. It's never going to be done, and you don't need to get it all figured out before you start either. That's another thing. It's the only way to get it done is to make mistakes and go ahead. But that's where a lot of mine laid, is in not feeling like I knew enough. But with the diagnosis now, I don't give a crap. It's like, if I don't start now, I could be dead next year. So, like, it's now or never. And the fear goes. It's funny. Yeah, so I would say to those people just to be kind to yourself and realise that you'll never have it all together. And,
What about your thoughts on death itself, considering you've been...
I was going to ask that question, but I thought better not.
You've faced it probably closer than all of us in the room, I would have thought, over the last 6 months. Are you scared of it?
I can honestly say that, I don't believe that. I believe that we are eternal beings. So the thought of death is kind of like, I know it's just a transition into another physical form. And like Steve Jobs, when he went, when he passed, his words that he used was like, wow. So it's not like, you're going into something terrible. You're going, my belief is you're going into something even better. So the fear, is it there? Look, yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah, for me, that's still something. I don't want to die. There's still there's plenty of things I want to do. I'm not ready to leave this earth yet. But it's not as strong. I just kind of feel that I'm living more authentically now than I ever have, and certainly more expressive about it, which it makes you feel more alive when you can express who you truly are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Welcome to the game, Tashi.
I had a question sort of followed on from that.
There you go in that.
No, well, I'm telling you, I'm
Welcome
serious.
to the
This
game.
chick here pointed me in the right direction, mate. All right, so I'm legitimately telling you whether what she was on and where she was going, and you're back there now. That's what I'm referring to.
I've always been there, but I've been,
So pull your head in.
Me.
Go, Jacob.
Yeah, I've really loved listening to your story, and it sounds like you've had a great sort of life so far for the 45 years you've been on Earth. Where do you see the next 45 years? What's the impact you want to have? What's the next chapter of your story?
Wow. Jacob, wow. I might have to go.
We do call him off the prop.
Well, it's oh my God, I'm gonna have to come back and talk to you about this one. Okay, let me think. Actually, I'm not thinking. I'm just like connecting here. I think I feel the last 45 years has been like. It's funny, you look back on your life and you see all the crap things that happened, right? And then you can see where it all fits into like the jigsaw puzzle, and you're like, oh, that all makes sense now. But I think it was all getting to where I am at now, and I feel now it's about spreading that message of living more, of spreading the message of people connecting more with themselves, living more from the heart and not from the intellect and the mind. Because that's what we're going to have to rely on now going into the future now.
Yeah.
Because we've got enough things tumbling around us, institutions that are just not working anymore. And also our nervous systems are frazzled with the constant activity and stimulation that we're getting, that we need to be able to connect and still our minds for our own sanity. Otherwise we will go insane. So I won't go insane in the next 45 years. What do I say? So spreading that message, and who knows? Awesome. I haven't really thought too deeply about it actually.
It's okay.
Yeah, but a great question. You're going to have me thinking about that for a long time. Thanks, Jacob.
It's a great question.
Yeah,
that's
really
a great
good.
question for anyone.
Yeah.
It's because that then takes you to that point of reflection. What that look back. But then we play around with this, Mike. Write your eulogy.
Yeah.
We played around with that.
Yeah, but I'd love to have like a sacred space. I've always wanted that, to have a space where people can come in and for healings and meditation retreats and things like that. So I think we'll probably go along those lines.
Yeah, awesome.
Have workshops and
Cool.
Run podcasts.
yeah.
We got any more questions for Tash? We want to keep this going, or are we going to wrap it up? That was.
Can I just say, brilliant job of hostess today so far.
Yeah,
Oh, you've just
thanks.
you've just been smooth. It's just been from the start. Well
Didn't know I
done.
could have more of a man crush on you.
I've been feeling it.
Is that the whiskey talk?
I don't know where your hand is in, mate.
Must be the whiskey.
Why are you
well
blushing
taken.
for?
Yeah. Yeah. So do we wrap it out there? I mean, there's so much in there. It's super powerful. And I think anyone listening, I know I've started a little bit of a journey to it a couple of years ago, and I'd love to go deeper with that connection to heart. And I've experienced like micro dosages of it, and I've felt how powerful it can be. And I think facing more mortality, which is kind of that stoicism thing, is super powerful. Writing a eulogy, thinking about what does that 45 years look like, and trying to sit with that for a little bit, and kind of playing between the two is something that we could all take away from. And then these 5 sutras. Mike, what do you
can
want
read
to
it.
do?
No, I was going to say you could read this Stoic just to tie in the Stoicism for this episode, just to get it in there. I reckon that'd be a nice little.
Just to get it in.
So Mike had prepared some stoicism. So this is a quote from Seneca.
I think it'll tie it nicely.
Letters from a
as
Stoic. So let us prepare our minds if we would come to the. Sorry, let me start again. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. So
Not a nice quote. That's a good quote.
Nice time.
Stoicism and you know, it's amazing how this, I guess we talked about that, Marcus Aurelius. I'm sure there's a lot of religious stuff in other texts and with the yogi and all this other stuff, how, you know, thousands of years ago, all this existed, and how it's actually becoming so important in today's age is really fascinating.
Yeah.
But, you know, thank you for sharing your story, Tash, and it was really amazing to have you here. And yeah, I'm not sure how everyone else feels, but it was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me into your little man cave. And I've just had an awesome time. It's been really
Tash,
great.
how can we follow the videos that you're putting out and your journey?
Well, I actually haven't got it on a separate thing. I've just got it on my Facebook as under my name.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the videos itself is open, so anyone can have a look at it. So you can follow me there, but I'll probably will change it at some point. But
So
that's what
when
I'm
we
doing.
release this, Tash will have her own little Facebook page and Instagram page, maybe even a blog that you can all follow her and get in touch with her.
And we'll link it up.
And we'll link it up, and we'll get you some great followers. But yeah, look, let's wrap it up there. That was another episode of The Simple Minds.
Thanks, Tash.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings.